に使命をかけて燃える街にあとわずか届く叫びを耳にして帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞウルトラマン狙った敵は必殺技の贈り物大地を飛んで流星パンチ近くに立ってウルトラチョップ凶悪怪獣倒すため帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞウルトラマン
Hello, you are listening to episode 43 of Ultra Q. My name is Red. I am joined by Mel.
I think someone on the Super Eye Special Effects team was taking notes from the Toei Special Effects team on what to do, how to dispose of bodies on screen.
I don't get this joke.
Episode 10, we'll talk about it.
It will come up. All right. We're also joined by Razn.
The children yearn for the quarry.
They do.
That's a better intro than I had.
I don't. At some point, it became staple that you two had a bit at the beginning of every episode. I don't know when this happened, but it's been going on for a while now. You've done this to yourselves, frankly.
I mean, that's just. I think that's just a normal thing for podcasts, to be honest. Just like
my entire life is a bit. You can't stop me.
Damn.
Please be kinder to yourself. Your therapist would not appreciate this. Does your therapist listen to this podcast?
I hope not. Are you? Tell me if you are. I hope. I don't think.
Apparently, they listen. They like consume other content.
Well, they like Elden Ring, so I've never talked to them about this podcast. I've never had reason to.
Well, I should hope not.
You better not be talking to anyone about what we say to you. We're covering episode 10, 11, and 12 of Return of Ultraman today.
First quarter. In the bag.
In the bag. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the return of bad dinosaur facts. We are going to be talking about King of Haters, Kishida, and we are going to be talking about weird ghost story that is not a ghost story but is a ghost story.
Yeah.
Alternatively, Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, coming up next, what if we did Gavidon again, and what if we did Wu again?
Yes.
A lot of we really are returning to Ultraman.
Yeah.
Return with a V.
Return with a V. Before we get into any of that, I haven't really done anything this week apart from I'm back on the Precure train because I've realized that I have to catch up to Hirogaru Sky because it's ending relatively soon.
Yeah,
it doesn't have many episodes left.
How far are you right now?
Episode 19.
Okay. I'm still ahead of you, so you're fine.
Yeah. So I got a ways to go, but I will get through it.
Yeah, I'm still like a month. No, I'm still like 12 episodes behind, but that's like not 12 episodes behind, but I'm like in the 30s, and it's like in the 40s right now. So
Agiha transformed. She's the best. She rules. Her transformation sequence is amazing.
Did you see the part where her finisher move has her Hummer in it?
I did not see that her Hummer is in it. I did not see that. I did see her finishing move.
I think I when the episode aired, I watched it. I linked that image, that frame in the chat and you were like, well, I can't watch this because I haven't seen the episode yet, but now...
That's hilarious. I will be looking out for that because I did like her final move where it's just like this butterfly crush thing. It's so good. All they have had so much fun animating her because she has fun moving. It's good. The big fan of Agiha, the 18-year-old Precure. They made an adult Precure.
It's cool. She's cool.
It is cool. The other thing I did was I finally played a second run through of Armored Core 6. Got the other ending. I need to do that. Is more Armored Core 6 that I have to beat. I don't know how the rest of New Game Plus works. I know that there were new choices in the second run through. There was that I didn't get in the first run through that I will have to take, and I assume that's where it branches off. We'll see. We will see. I would say I am more high on Armored Core 6 than the first time through I played it because all my things about Armored Core 6 are still real, but also I was just like, well, it's just a different game. I'm just having a good time with a different game. That's okay. I am still extremely like, I have a problem that is really annoying to talk about because to presumably everyone else who's played Armored Core 6, where I'm like, I don't think this game is difficult at all. I have yet again. It's still the first time I beat Bolteus in my first run through was the longest I spent on a boss, and I recorded that footage, and so I saved that footage, and so I could go back and check, and it was 25 minutes. That was the longest I spent on a boss.
Christ.
I've just Armored Core 6 kind of suits my playstyle of just kind of get in close and be aggressive. I feel like most bosses melt with that approach. I think the final boss of the ending I got this time frustrated that a little bit, but not too much. I did have to alter my build, but it wasn't drastic. I had a good time. I need to try out some more. Every time I tried out like more variety, I found that it was like, I don't know. There's some, my frustrations are still there with, I just feel like you can just build one mech and get through the whole game. But again, I assume maybe other people didn't have this problem. But yeah, I've been having a good time. That's it. Who's gonna go next? Is Mel. I've decided.
What?
Oh shit!
What the fuck? What is?
Because Mel's also been playing Armored Core 6.
Well, because it's entirely possible that you don't have anything again. And I don't want it to be Razan goes off talking about millions of things, and then you come in like, well, yeah. I've been really understandably busy.
Yeah, that has happened, admittedly. Yeah, I haven't been up to much, really, as you might expect, because this past week I had exams, and I was mostly doing that.
Yes.
But the past 2 days after my exams finished, I did get extremely gamer brain, so I did play a bunch more Symphonia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously, we'll talk more about the game in depth when I do my roundup. I'll give a banner update, at least. Got to the part where the plot reveal happens, and then the game changes for the second half, which is cool. Finally met all the guys, including Double Demon Fan Guy, which is fun.
He sounds like a genius.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the actual party member named Genius. But also of note, the two other new party members that I want to highlight. There's a girl called Precia, who's pink-haired girl with an axe. In other words, she's designed specifically for my tastes. And then also this guy called Regal, who's one of the coolest guys conceptually, because he's like an older guy, voiced by Akio Otsuka.
Hell yeah.
He's a convict who joins the party. But he's like, I cannot. I refuse to remove my handcuffs because they're symbol of my crimes, which I must atone for. So in combat, he fights exclusively with his by kicking people, and it's cool.
Holy shit!
It's really good.
What is this character's name? I need to look him up immediately.
Regal.
Okay.
Let me get him.
Yeah, post this man in the chat.
Holy shit! This is my new favorite guy in a game I'm never gonna play.
I will say also just enjoying. It is a cool the combat of Tales is in combat kind of like a fighting game thing, and so it's cool action RPG combat, but they sort of everything else is sort of like a conventional RPG where you have a world map and then you just get into battles, and then the battles are like an encounter, except there's an action thing happening in the encounter. So it's a bit more like a conventional Final Fantasy than you expect from an action RPG. Definitely, it's a good game on both the action front and the RPG front. You got good... Because I'm not using a guide, I feel really... exploring and looking around the world map is really rewarding. There's glowing spots where you can get little... Where if you land on them, you get little dialogue interactions. And there's also just the skit system that Tales has, which I think is really good, where every once in a while you get you can press select when you get a prompt, and then you'll get a little dialogue scene of the characters talking, and sometimes about plot relevant stuff, and sometimes it's just they're shooting the shit about random shit, and it's just good.
I have friends who are where I say probably were. I feel like they haven't really kept up because there was a stretch of PS3 era games that kind of made them fall off. But I had friends that were deep in the Tales hole, and I remember distinctly one telling me, a lot of these games are just kind of serviceable 7 out of 10 RPGs, but what separates the really good ones from the kind of whatever mid ones are how good those skits are. And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think the character. I will say that my sense of the base of this game and also what I've read is the first half of Tales games are generally pretty run of the mill JRPG stories, and then there's a twist halfway through where it goes different places, which makes it more interesting plot wise. But I think the main thing is that the characters are what really make the game for people, and then also the combat is the unique thing that sells the series apart from other franchises, which is a shame that Berseria and Arise just throw that out the window for something more generic. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. If this was a game that I finished, I'd probably count it my game of the year, but I'm not finishing this year, so rip. I still have half the game left, I think, so it'll be a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to playing more and finishing it, and then then moving on to the successor game, Abyss, after, because that's a game I played 4 or 5 hours of twice. The first 4 or 5 hours twice on the 3DS, and now I'm I'm gonna play it for real once I'm done with Symphonia. Not on the 3DS, but it'd be cool.
Sick.
Now Rasmus, go.
I would just like to say I'm a big fan of this Regal fella.
Yeah, he's really cool. He plays a bit differently in terms of his mechanics. Where his his style of they call them arts. There's the special magical moves that they can do, and for most characters, there's spells, and for the casters and the more action-oriented characters have it's more Street Fighter special moves, I guess you could say. But there's also higher, stronger versions that you can chain into each other. But his are more his moves are more there's his system works differently to match the fact that he's a martial artist kind of thing. So I think that's cool.
The extreme, the long hair, the crop top and handcuffs is a hell of a combo. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, Razdan.
I don't have much actually this week. A few random things. So this has been actually ongoing, I would say, about a month, but I thought I might as well bring it up now because the Fate Extra CCC patch is out.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not playing that. What I am here today to instead talk about is that for the past month, in one of my friend groups or whatever on Discord or whatever, people just hang out in calls and stuff, and there's often one or two of us just playing something and streaming it for the rest of the class to view. And my friend Marie recently decided that she wanted to download PPSSPP and replay Fate Extra for the hell of it. So I have casually watched her, half paying attention, and to be fair, sometimes she's playing and I'm not there, or whatever, go through the Fate Extra, Saber and Caster routes. I think maybe one day I'll play those games, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm in an awkward place where I have seen enough of the story where I feel like I've gotten the gist of things without having experienced it in totality, so I still have some gaps. But then seeing how that game plays, I'm just like, oh god, this is one of the RPG battle systems of all time.
Yeah, I haven't worried about the battle system, but I do want to play Extra and CCC. But I also don't want to do them until I play Stay Night, which I don't want to do until I play Tsukihime.
Yeah. So she started doing this, and then she was like, yeah, I really wonder when that CCC patch is going to drop. And I was like, well, let me look at, see if there's any updates on their blog. And I was like, oh, they said it's going to be done by the end of the year. And we're both like, oh, huh. And then, I think, 3 days later, the full thing came out. And she's like, holy shit, okay, fuck it, I guess we'll stream that too. So she's been streaming some CCC as well. That game seems like a massive improvement in so many ways. And does look like a game I would want to play. Oh my god, is it so fucking horny. Holy shit.
I do. Are you talking about the main Extra or CCC?
CCC. Extremely horny.
I know that the main.
This is a Nero game, right?
Well, Extra has Nero as well.
Okay.
CCC. The main thing I know about it is that one of the major characters / antagonists is horny the character. So.
Yeah. She completed one route, though, to be fair, she also, she just wanted to play through this, and we're like, don't fucking wait for us to be in a call to stream it to us. Just play the game you're excited to play or whatever, and if we happen to be in a call, you can stream parts of it or whatever, we don't care. So she mostly blew through, her first playthrough, just, outside of calls or whatever. She's been doing New Game Plus, so also, too, there is, I don't know exactly how Fate Extra works. I wasn't paying that close attention when, she was going through the story decision stuff, but CCC, I know there is, a true ending, and when you're on New Game Plus, the game highlights the dialogue choices that allow you to get that. Okay. So it takes the guesswork out sort of thing. So she's doing a New Game Plus run where she's playing as Gilgamesh. It's so fucking funny. I don't know how far in it is, but there's a, every time, at the end of the day, you go into, your little dorm room or whatever, and every servant that you choose has their own little individual unique room, and Gilgamesh's is just a throne without a bed in it, and he's like, yeah, you can sleep wherever, I'm gonna sleep in my throne. It's really it's really fucking funny, but they look interesting. I want to play them someday, but the music is really hit or miss, where it's oh, this is the most penis-y ass game OST, whatever, nothing shit I've heard in my life. And then sometimes it's oh, this is kind of a bop. It's very inconsistent, but I find it interesting.
I feel like the PSP produced a type of game that we haven't really seen.
I've been feeling that too, looking at
the thing is, I don't have a lot of experience with PSP games, but there is just sort of a vibe of them from a distance, or just from seeing footage of them.
It's so interesting because even more so than the Vita, PSP RPGs and just games as a whole feel like they're riding the line between we want to make smaller scale games than what you would, for example, have on the PS2, but they're still aping a lot of those design sensibility. It's very interesting. It's very unique. It feels like a very unique hybrid of the handheld and console game choices being made at the time that I don't even think we've got. I feel like the Switch is mostly people making console games and then also making shitty downgrade versions of them that can also be handheld. In a way that, like, you would think that the Switch would be the one where it's like, oh, this is the true hybrid of handhelds, pick up and play design and console game design. I don't really think it ever turned out to be that.
Yeah.
But, like, the PSP, just, it's a vibe. I never owned a PSP. The few times I played PSP, like, the actual thing was when I borrowed it from a friend growing up. Most of my experience has been, like, emulating it or playing remasters of those games after the fact. But it's interesting.
Yeah, like, I feel like the Vita is a bit like a PSP advancement. This is still similar in that regards, but also because it's more powerful, there's also, like, more they can do. I also feel like the 3DS is a bit in that space where the PSP was as well, just because of what they were capable of on that hardware, while also still, being different, just being a Nintendo handheld and, having the touchscreen, so it still was carrying forward some of the DS sensibilities as well.
There's like a weird, like, it's like a weird, like, Twilight of the handheld sort of thing, where there's some interesting stuff going on. Because
I wish more people were willing to make portable games on the Switch.
Yeah.
There is a style of what a portable game is that is missed, and I also feel like it kind of coincides with, like, not that we should be celebrating Pokemon having yearly releases, because that's clearly bad, but, like, there is, like, the cost of develop. I think, like, Jackson talks about it a lot about how, like, every game takes, like, 5 years to make, and there's just, like, it takes forever for new stuff to come out, whereas before we'd have, like, really rapid releases and spin-offs and stuff like that did different things, and now it's sort of like, obviously, crunching out a billion things, like, for, like, a constant stream of, like, output is bad, and the work conditions are bad. Not that they're much better now, but also, like, everything taking 5 years to make, and it's, like, the more, like, most homogenized, stale version of the thing is sad, especially because, like, a lot of it is because, like, HD games are just so much more demanding to make because of, like, fidelity reasons, how much they want to make the game big.
Yeah.
The portable size spin-off is, like, a casualty along with the B game kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this, like, when I've talked about Honkai and stuff before. It's like, it feels like so much of the money and effort and, like, the teams that were dedicated to that type of game have just gone to, well, all of that stuff we're just gonna make a gacha spin-off thing now.
Yeah,
just
and I mean,
put your efforts that, like, elsewhere, and that sucks.
And, like, tying this back to my thing, I like, my Tales of Friend is, like, laments that, like, the state of the franchise is on, like, the mainline entries, while also, like, he's very fond of Tales of the Rays, the ongoing Tales of Gacha game, because
hopefully this one lasts longer than a year.
Well, it's the one that somehow lasted the longest and keeps going, but because it's like it's the one that doesn't die within a year, but they just keep making other ones. But, like, this one's been going on for a while apparently. But, like, it's also the one where, like, it still has the combat mechanics of the series identity, and also a lot of the writers from the old games that people like. So it's just like the actual devs making that series are on the mobile game, which, it's cool that I guess you could call it portable spin-off game is, like, has the real soul of the series, but also the fact that it's a mobile gacha live service game is an issue in terms of, like,
See, it's funny because those aforementioned Tales fans I discussed are also the people my friend group are, the gacha people. They fucking gave up on Tales gacha because they're just like, every time they get the ball rolling, they just kill it right away. So it's like, well, fuck it, I'm not going to play the next one.
Let me see, like, when this one came out, because this is the one that, for whatever reason, just fucking lived. And maybe it's partly because they have, like, the actual talent. Okay, so apparently it's been going since 2017.
Damn.
But also, I think it had a limited American release or Western release, and then it was shut down.
Oh.
Yeah. So there was a global closure of the game in 2018, so it didn't last well long in the West, but has just been alive since 2017 in Japan. And then apparently it led to the funny thing where I think last month said Tails friends were complaining about, like, Arise sucking, and, like, how there's a new character in the DLC who isn't playable, but for whatever reason, in the gacha game, now they have a full moveset. It's like,
honestly, that's pretty fucking funny.
and it's just like,
God.
yeah, for whatever reason, the combat designer of the franchise has made like over 200 unique movesets for all the characters in this gacha game, and we know we're getting shit like a Rise on consoles. What's going on in this franchise?
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a few other quick things.
Okay.
I think Red made the right call.
Yeah.
I made the yeah, go for it.
This one I could probably save for plugs, but me and my friend Jake are going through all the Tekken story modes in time to catch up to the Tekken 8 story, which we might play through together before he plays through the story. It depends on if you need to unlock anything that he wants through the story mode, because he's like, if I need to unlock things with that story mode, I'm just going to play it, I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. But we might get a fun, like, you know, first time playthrough unspoiled for Tekken 8 to see what the hell's going on there. It's been fun. We streamed Tekken 1 and 2. Tekken 1, kind of a bad game. Tekken 2, much improved game, more fun. I'm curious to see what the hubbub is with Tekken 3. I mean, I've played Tekken 3 a little bit before, so I kind of already know. But then also trying out Tekken 4 later today, which is known for being weird and experimental and also kind of a vibe. Amazing soundtrack.
Sick.
Speaking of 4, I've also been... Okay. I don't know how much I realistically have to talk about this, but I have been gearing up to do a short little Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition adventure for some of my friends. I'm on the cusp of becoming a 4th edition guy. I don't know how much do either of you know about the controversial 4th edition of D&D?
I know.
I think I can play that bit.
Okay.
So 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons really focused in on Dungeons and Dragons as a combat game and gave all the... There was a reduction in what like magic items could give you, and instead it was, you know, everyone had like powers and abilities that they could use. And people were mad that they reduced Dungeons and Dragons to MMO stuff. Was what they were mad that it was World of Warcraft now because it was talking about tanks and support and damn DPS or something like that.
Yes. You pretty much nailed it. This is the edition of D&D that was made after people looked at all of the 3rd edition stuff and went, this is getting aggressively bloated and complex, and there's a lot of room for streamlining here. And they absolutely took some influence from video games. Like, funny, I know we've referenced him before on this, but I watched a live stream from Matt Colville, who worked at, I should say, worked at Wizards of the Coast during the 3rd edition era. But I think left before 4th edition really took off, from what I recall him saying.
And yet is the number one 4th edition defender.
Yes. And what he said is that he saw there was a newer person that was like kind of like involved at like a higher like design level or whatever, who came in and watched them play a session of D&D and went, you know, what we have here is 30 minutes of fun extended out to 3.5 hours. And everyone's like, oh, you're right, that's a problem. Because at that point, it's like the rules are so detailed and complex that you're constantly checking back to reference things and make sure rulings are correct and all that stuff. And they're like, we can streamline this. We can make this more fine-tuned for the combat side of things. And this also includes things like, hey, when you say a character moves 30 feet, what that actually means is that they move 6 squares when you break it down, like math-wise or whatever, to like a miniature like tabletop thing. Let's take out this like, you know, talking in the fictional like units and stuff like that. Let's just use board game speak. Like, show me what you mean on the actual board. Like, so let's stop using feet and inches that you then need to do the conversion of for your actual board. We're just going to remove that illusion. So instead you get things like, oh, this character can move 6 squares. People fucking lost their minds over this.
They hated it.
Yes. And I'm looking at it like, oh, thank fuck, Jesus Christ. I don't like it. It's so convenient. I'm frustrated. So part of the reason I wanted to go back to this is because the last few years I've been playing a lot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which there's an irony here. The first Pathfinder was made after people fucking hated 4th edition of D&D, and they're like, we want more of the 3rd edition stuff. So the original Pathfinder 1st edition is kind of like people jokingly call it D&D 3.75, because it's basically carrying on that lineage. It's barely changed. Pathfinder 2nd edition takes a lot of cues from 4th edition, to the point that there's a lot of Pathfinder 1 diehards that really don't like 2nd edition. So they kind of looped back around to the same design philosophy, which is funny. Also, there's other games that have notably come out and have been well received, and also carry on that 4E design philosophy of, we're just going to try to streamline this for combat and not pretend that this isn't a game about slaying monsters, which other editions of D&D try to pretend that there's more room for roleplay and social play than there actually is. Like, just 80% of those books are fucking about looting dungeons and killing things. I'm sorry. But, like 13th Age, Lancer, Icon, there's been a lot of hubbub about, like, 4th edition design philosophy. So I'm like, I just want to go back to the original and see how I feel about it. So what I will say is I do think that I appreciate their honesty and the streamlining of mechanics. And as someone who primarily came to this from, I worked my way backwards. I primarily came from this from, like, JRPGs and shit. And, like, there's Final Fantasy Tactics ass stuff all over 4th edition D&D. Like, you can just feel it. I appreciate what it's going for, and I feel at home in 4th edition in a way that I feel like I don't feel as home in, like, even the older editions or, like, 5th edition or whatever, in terms of what their vibe and fantasy is. That being said, oh my fucking god, the, like, racial essentialism and the, like, baked-in abilities is, I think there's an argument that this is more, like, bioessentialist than 5th edition even is.
I mean,
that's saying something.
I kind of assumed that was the case, or I had assumed that it was gradually getting ground out of Dungeons and Dragons as other people were getting mad about it. I assumed, like, 5th editions was slightly toned down, and then it's gradually just got more and more toned down until they don't even give you stat bonuses. So I had assumed that 4th edition back, it was just wild shit.
Yeah, because of Gygax.
The Gygax was out by 4th edition time.
I know, but, like,
oh yeah,
he mean the legacy. And the legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is extremely true. The 5th edition is weird because it started with, like, oh, we're gonna fucking get the old heads back, and maybe hiring some consultants who are massive pieces of shit that they should not have hired, and in later reprinting scrubbed out of the book. So, like, it's weird because it starts from that place, and then as, like, the audience for it boomed due to shit like Critical Role, they started to care more about, like, oh, hey, maybe we shouldn't have all of that. Like, maybe we shouldn't have that, like, baked into the setting. All orcs are, like, noble warriors that, like, you know, go into blood frenzy and shit, that sort of thing. The history of those changes are weird and wild. And also, too, 4th edition has the stigma for a lot of players of, oh, this is where role-playing goes to die. Like, you can't tell interesting stories. It's a fucking board game. You're there for the wargaming. There's no actual, like, you know, place for expressing your character or anything outside of what they can do in combat, which I'm gonna be real, I just kind of feel that way about D&D writ large anyways. But, I was curious about that angle, and I'm like, how much of that is just dumb internet arguments happening at the time? And I think I understand where that comes from, and I don't think it's anything necessarily baked into the system itself, per se. I think what it is that the adventures I've read for it as written fucking suck. It's just bad GMing.
Oh.
Like, so, because what my original plan was I was going to run the original adventure included in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is just like a one-page thing where you go into a manor and kill some kobolds that stole some shit or whatever. It's whatever. Basic enough, like, D&D adventure thing. And I was like, okay, this is basic as hell and kind of uninspired, but I can do something interesting with this. Then I read Keep on the Shadowfell, which is the first, like, 4th edition adventure that I think technically came out before the actual rulebooks did, and had like a basic like rundown of here's the basic systems of the game at the front of the adventure so that you could play it before you bought the actual books. Like, this was supposed to be the introduction to 4th edition. It's just so fucking bland and boring, and I think the advice is just terrible. It's very railroady in a way that I just think kind of is the worst of what I know of the 2000s culture of play. It's just all of that baked into one book. And it's like, I think I'm going to take some of the encounters and balancing from this, but then completely rewrite the actual story, and maybe make it organized a little bit differently so it's more open-ended, and you're not just ambushing players with things and then forcing like plot threads in their place and making it extremely obvious where to go and what to do, and the motivations are just so boring, and it's just like, wow, they did not put any care, or there's no excitement, or I definitely believe like part of the reason that the older modules of D&D are so beloved is that there's an air of mystery to them that I just don't think exists here. Everything just feels really gamey and obligatory in a way that is just outright cliche, and there's no sense of wonder to any of it. I genuinely think whoever they had writing these things were just going through the motions and ran very, very beer and pretzel style, like, yeah, we're all shooting the shit and like getting together, who gives a shit, we're not here for the story, whatever sort of thing. But I don't think it's really necessarily a symptom of the system itself. I just think whoever they had writing these adventures just did not get the memo of what players really look for out of D&D storytelling, I guess. But yeah, I'm curious to actually get to play it, hopefully next month, and report back and see how I feel about it. I have a feeling I'll have a good time. I'm mostly doing this to see how I feel about it, because for a while there was an online shift in discourse where people are like, yeah, you don't need to play 4th edition anymore. Pathfinder 2 is really fucking good. And then there's been an obvious, of course, then the backlash happens of, wait a minute, 4th edition did some interesting things that hasn't since been replicated by the people that, are taking those design inspirations or whatever. And there's still reason to go back to the original source of these things and try it out. So I'm curious how I feel about that when everything is said and done. And one day I'd also hope to play Lancer 2 as the other big 4E inspired game, but never had the opportunity.
Yeah. Nice. Also, I hate to keep going back to the well of the thing I already talked about, but like, you talk about bioessentialism just reminded me that another thing in Tales of Symphonia is like prejudice against half-elves as like a plot point, and I'm wondering if that's like, where does that come from? Because I know that's a specific thing in ReZero as well. I'm just wondering if there's just like a thing in Japanese fantasy about like, or maybe even just like Western fantasy about half-elves, and I'm not sure where that comes from.
Gygax was absolutely, I'm almost positive the original, like, Greyhawk setting he developed, there's extremely, like, a lot of prejudice around both the half-elves and the half-orcs, in that stuff. I'm sure a lot of it stems from there. Honestly, Gygax, cause of a lot of original sins in the fantasy genre.
Okay.
Truly.
Because I just felt like, it is weird, I've seen this in, like, 2 separate Japanese fantasy stories, and I have no reason to think that like the ReZero writer was very specifically a fan of Tales of Symphonia and that Tales of Symphonia originated with it, so I'm just wondering where's it come from.
Also, actually, too, I can't believe I fucking forgot to talk about this. 4th edition also has So, 4th edition did this thing where it doesn't technically really have a default setting. It did eventually get a name later, but they did this thing where they're like, hey, most people that run this game like to... the majority of people who run this game at this point in the hobby like to create their own original worlds. So instead of establishing like a default setting for you to just kind of copy and take out, certain parts and change things up, we are going to tell you what we believe makes a good world for play and a good like campaign for your adventures using this rule set. And they called it Points of Light. And on paper, that sounds really good. And even the original pitch, I think, sounds... It gets 90% of the way there, because what it is like... It's a world of ruin where there used to be empires and large kingdoms that have since faded away and left behind remnants of in the past that people kind of live in the shadow of. And I'm like, okay, that's good, that's cool. And also, they're like civilization, like settlements are few and far between, which gives you different hubs to use as sort of a base to catch your footing, but then also you can go on fun wilderness adventures, and you can use those settlements as your kind of central grounding anchor. And I'm like, okay, this is also good. Where I then start to go, is that they're like, you can think of these towns as points of light that are sanctuaries in a savage, uncaring world of barbarian tribes and evil that are trying to protect the light from the darkness. And I'm like, no, thank you.
I mean, that's all of Dungeons. That is just Dungeons and Dragons. That's everything. That's like, yeah.
It's just honest about it in a way that even the older stuff at least tried to dress it up a little, and I was like, holy shit. But yeah, I'm kind of taking that. I mean, this approach also has its own problems, but I was just like, I kind of want to make like a Monster Hunter inspired world where it's like tiny villages in the shadow of like, oh fuck, any of these guys could show up any minute and just ruin everything. I hope it turns out well. But yeah, that's enough about my shenanigans this week. I actually had more than I thought I would. Holy shit.
Yeah. All right. Well,
it's time to talk about the children toiling the quarry.
It's time to talk about children being put to work. Let's talk about episode 10 of Return of Ultraman. The title I have is Dinosaur Explosion Directive.
Dinosaur Detonation Order.
Ah, for fuck's sake. It's the same thing.
It is. That's fine.
Jiro.
I have complaints about these episode titles, by the way.
Yes. We'll talk about them when we get to episode 11, I think. Jiro is a part of the Kaiju Club run by a teacher called Yoshimoto. It's a fun way to teach evolution. The kids are digging for fossils at an active construction site, and Go and Minami swing by just in time for the discovery of what looks like a dinosaur tailbone. They use their MAT authority to get the construction guys to hang back for a while until the fossil is dug out, and they report back to base. Go and Minami are then invited to the class presentation on the Kaiju Club's discoveries, and we have the return of dinosaur facts.
Yeah, there's a lot of... I have... Do you want the rundown now or later?
We are gradually improving, but we're still pretty wrong, I think. We can have the rundown now. Yeah, let's just go for it.
So, they say the dinosaurs evolved in the Paleozoic 300 million years ago. This is not true. The first reptiles were only evolving at this time. Dinosaurs didn't exist until the Mesozoic era. They did correctly say that the Triassic and Jurassic were, periods where dinosaurs were around. But they didn't talk about the Cretaceous, whereas, really it was the Jurassic and the Cretaceous were the only periods where dinosaurs were dominant. The Triassic was when they were just coming out, and there were other things that were like really more dominant. It wasn't really until like the mass extinction of the Triassic where like those like niches were like filled by the dinosaurs, which is why they were dominant for the next years after. So yeah.
All right.
But at least this child knows more than Arashi, who thinks that dinosaurs and mammoths and humans were around at the same time.
300 million years ago, humans were just monkeys. I love that image so much because Ide's in the background just like, no.
And then, so what could make all those facts even better is if you had some Ready Player One pilled kids in the back going like, this is just like Rodan.
Yeah, and they talk about Ghidorah and
Red King gets mentioned.
Godzilla versus and it's great. They're all just talking about all the kaiju that there are movies of, I guess.
Yeah, it's really confusing because like I have to assume that Godzilla and Rodan don't exist in this universe, but they can still reference them as media properties.
Yes, like that one guy in the Ultra Q in an Ultra Q episode did.
Like the guy, like when Jiro last week was like, I'm going to play with my toys with the fictional Paragon and the very non-fictional Red King.
Yes. Honestly, that is extremely funny that there are two categories of kaiju. There are ones that are in movies and ones that are real.
But both are commercialized, even though one of these things are actual calamities that kill people.
Yes.
Now, to be fair, kids can get toys of lions.
True.
So maybe there's probably some kid out there who's like, all right, I'm gonna make this Pikachu fight this lion.
Yeah, but that's a lion. That's a like slightly different scale. It would be like, are we giving kids 9/11 toys? Like it's slightly different.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I guess like that's not a natural disaster. that's a different. I don't know.
You just
And
forced me to look up 9/11 toys, and I'm going through a Google Images.
Holy
rabbit
shit!
hole.
No.
It's
any choice
mostly
examples?
just like action figures of police and firefighters.
That's not what the first result is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Actually, I missed that.
Anyway, all right. Well, moving on. Unfortunately, the construction workers did not honor the agreement and are going to blow up the skeleton. They explode dynamite, and then one of them fucking melts due to the skeleton dripping dinosaur stomach acid on him.
This was what I was referencing in the opening a bit, because I was like, oh, hey, it's just like Shocker in Gundam.
Ah, yes. It is, yes. Now that I think of it, they do turn into foam. Yes, you are correct. The dinosaur...
It's also funny that he gets like one drop on him and then completely dissolves.
Completely. Immediately. It's bad. It's bad news. The dinosaur still there, and the MAT is deployed to investigate. Young Kishida gets a jab in Go before they leave. He's like, hey, you didn't do your fucking job, did you? And the captain makes the decision to blow up the dinosaur. Go insists it's alive and begs for it to be spared, but he and Minami are ignored. Blowing it up only awakens Stegon, which is what the kids have named it, and the MAT attack. Stegon burrows underground, and back at base, the captain justifies his decision. Regardless of the result, he felt he made the right call. Go and Minami are left out of the next plan, but they head to the scene anyway. The captain fires an anesthetic shot at Stegon, and then has to be saved by Go. Go distracts Stegon, falls down a hill, turns into Ultraman, and then he's about to kill Stegon when he hears the shouts of Jiro and the rest of the Kaiju Club. Ultraman wrestles with Stegon until the anesthetic takes effect, and then freezes it and takes it to space, where it becomes a star, just like those other episodes of Ultraman that we've seen. The end.
Yeah, this is the most
Gavadon
bizarre way to adapt Gavadon.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if this worked for me fully compared to the Gavadon.
It does not have the charm of Gavadon, and also
No.
it's so distant from what like it's because Gavadon is such a specific thing, and the Gavadon ending comes out of nowhere and it's like, oh, you're doing Gavadon. And then it's like, why the fuck are you doing Gavadon?
I can kind of see the seeds being planted, because it's like the kids have the reference for Stegon in the way they get it with Gavadon, but it's just like it's a different thing, because the one Gavadon is like Gavadon was a creation of the children, and this one is just like a guy they find and like map their hopes and dreams onto, and it's like a different thing.
Yeah, it's not it's not about them like building him up and like seeing like, oh, he's just a little guy, and then going, oh, let's make him cooler next time. Yeah, it's
Also, Stegon is like not as disruptive of Gabadon, to be honest. Like,
no,
despite
Stegon's less cute.
The Kato was like, my justification for blowing up is that the government wanted to do construction here, so we have to blow him up. Which is in line with the Gavadon, but like not as much as this like Gavadon just being passively around is disrupting the economy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, it's funny that his like second reasoning was like, "Bro, did you see the acid dissolve the guy? Like, come on."
I have to blow him up. That guy melted from one drop of acid. Like, are you joking? It's you know, I'm always a fan of when any show attempts to explain, any show for like small children attempts to explain the idea of, I know it didn't work out, but it was still the right decision. Even if in this particular case, no, it wasn't, because you were trying to kill a kaiju that all the kids loved. Yeah. The kaiju itself is, I think, one of the better designs so far. It's kind of like skeletal fossil, like dinosaur, like on four legs. I'm a little more likely to recognize it out of the other ones that we've had lately. We've had a lot of they're on two legs and they're kind of like a Godzilla-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some weaker designs in the recent episodes. Sure.
It's it moves about kind of like clumsily, or like it kind of has like a dorky swagger to it that I appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is one of the better designs we've had, and like I hope we get some more standout designs, but I do feel like that's the weakest part of the show so far. It's just
I mean,
we're kind of like more on the mid side so far.
We're counterbalancing it with having a good team.
Yeah.
Kishida, I'm so glad Kishida is still on the hate train at all times. Can't stand Go.
I like how we can like see, and we'll get into this next episode too. We'll see how like him being the nepo baby can like tie into all this stuff, even if maybe the writers didn't intend for it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it works. Like we've joked about it, but they are going to actually talk about his his family's history. Do we have anything more to say about this episode? Because we have that segue. Yeah,
I'll just say that I think it's funny that they reused the green screen shot of Go running in front of Twin Tail.
Was it? I noticed the green screen. I didn't notice it was reused. That's funny.
I think I
didn't notice either.
I think because I was trying to take a screenshot of it for the YouTube version this last week. I just noticed. Yeah, it's the same animation.
That is funny.
That's pretty good.
This was directed by Masanori Kake and written by Shozo Uehara. Both we've talked about before.
Nice.
Can you remind me what Kake's work is? Broadly.
As in the
on
before...
Ultra, yeah.
Oh, okay. He did episode 3, The Monster Realm of Terror.
Okay.
Episode 4, Fatal Attack Meteor Kick.
Mm-hmm.
And then 8, The Monster Time Bomb.
Can you remind us what shows you were? No.
No. Could you give us a quick list of all the times he's worked on the Ultra series?
It is funny that he did episodes this close about like explosions. I guess that's always going to happen.
Maybe he has irrational fear of explosions.
Yeah. Oh, he's the one. He's the one that needs curing.
Wait, did he write?
He was the one where the monster directed the one with the monster in front of the dynamite factory.
No, I'm just trying to remember. Was he
did Shozo Uehara write? Episodes? Yeah.
Wait, which episode?
Dinosaur Tank. Was he the one?
No. Kake is new for Return.
No, I'm talking Shozo Uehara.
Oh, I do not recall.
No, nothing.
Oh well.
Yes.
He did? Let's go.
He's the guy who's afraid of explosions, and he thinks it's an irrational fear.
He's trying to work it out through his
He's
work.
working out his irrational fear of explosions through his work on Ultraman. That's fantastic. God damn. All right. Well, we can talk about. I think was probably the bigger episode of this week.
I think it was the best episode this week.
Yeah, episode 11. Poison gas monster appears.
Not the best episode title this week.
So yes, the episode titles so far have been really a letdown. They just describe the episode. Compared to, let's see, Ultra 7 episode titles, are the wiki episode titles accurate?
You mean
That's
like
the question.
Ambassador of the Non-Malt? Or,
Ambassador of the Non-Malt, The Eye That Shines in the Darkness, Project Blue,
the 700 meter sprint.
the 7... Oh, yes. Meter.
No, kilometer probably.
Yeah.
It was a rally race.
Yeah. The biggest invasion in history.
Yeah. Much just better episodes in Ultra 7.
Mm-hmm.
Episode titles.
Yes, I had assumed. All these titles. Oh my. Oh. When I look at the Ultra 7 series, all the episode lists on the Ultraman, on the Ultra Wiki, they all have tags. They all have content warnings on them.
Yeah.
For dismemberment and blood and violence and smoking. And severe blood. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that is the show.
They were beheading people.
They were. I was just the one guy, honestly, that was really obsessed about their ability to
really
do it.
liked cutting off heads. They were coming into work like, you're right, guy?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like a geyser.
Yes. All right. Poison gas monster appears. Young Kishida has developed a reputation for being strict, and Oka explains his overdeveloped sense of responsibility comes from his proud military family. And after Ueno's suffered at Kishida's sharp tongue, the captain is like, cheer up. That's his strong point, is that he's such a fucking hard ass. Kaiju sightings have been reported in a forest, and the MAT are patrolling. Kishida, Go, and Minami find a film crew collapsed. Are they just straight up dead? Are these guys just dead?
Yes. 100%.
They find a film crew fucking dead. Examining the footage in the cameras, the team sees the actors and crew succumb to a yellow gas. Jun 3 enters the scene to tell us the gas is from a bomb developed by the old Japanese army. Kishida looks meaningfully into the distance. It turns out Kishida's dad was working on this yellow gas bomb. Kishida himself learns about this when he asks his mother about it, and he asks if it was possibly the reason why his elder brother took his own life. His mother gives young Kishida his father's diary from the time, and Kishida reads about his father's relief that the weapon was not put to use. So he did work on it. The kaiju appears. It breathes yellow gas, killing lumberjacks, and Kishida is desperate to know why the kaiju breathes the same chemical weapon his father developed. In the aftermath of the attack, Kishida and Go find a piece of debris with the Japanese flag on it that had been spat out by the kaiju, and Kishida reaches the conclusion it seems this kaiju has found the store of disposed gas and has consumed it. Kishida feels he has to defeat the kaiju himself to make up for his family's sin. He's clearly distracted during a briefing, and everyone's like, that's not like you. That's not like you at all. And he goes out and he goes all in when he comes across the kaiju in his map fighter. He crashes and is rescued and then lies asleep in a hospital. Go decides to take on his revenge. He fights the kaiju from the air on foot with a new... he fights the kaiju from the air, he fights the kaiju on foot with a new weapon, and then finally he fights the kaiju as Ultraman. However, when the kaiju uses his poison gas on Ultraman, it's the team that saves the day, dispersing flammable gas that Ultraman can ignite with his Spacium beam. Ultraman defeats the Kaiju, and the injured Kishida apologizes for disrupting the team's teamwork. He even gives Go a smile at the end. So, Kishida's family engaged in close to war crimes.
Yeah.
Very, very funny. His dad was writing in his journal, it's a good thing the war's almost over. We don't have to actually do war crimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God, my personal soul is saved. So yeah, I think this is strong stuff for Kishida, stronger than I was expecting from his whole. Oh yeah, his family is in charge of like the whole thing that they've got going on. Whatever it is, it's not the. I can never remember because they always introduce a new acronym for what the military is that is overseeing the team.
I also just want to say, on that note, it is very funny at this point in GGP watching 00 that Ultra Series really is a series about the UN having an army.
Yes. Yes, it is. Kishida's whole thing where he's like completely like shuts, like doesn't tell anyone about any of his problems and just decides, well, I have to just deal with this. As him like applying it makes all the times when he's been a hater to everyone else, it's like he holds himself to that standard, and it's terrible, it's bad. And I think, okay, yeah, this is the guy. I like this guy.
It is
real sins of the father complex with this man.
It is also really funny. He wears a suit at home, and also he lives with his mom.
He's a perfect man. Oh, what a terrible guy. Yeah, I think there was oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you finish because I was gonna have a new thought.
I mean, I finished the episode. I was gonna move on as well.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I mean, you can go first. I'll remember mine.
Okay. We're doing this dance. I want to talk about the very intro not cutscene. Fucking stupid. Very intro scene. Fucking
the opening FMV.
The opening scene of the episode, which is Kishida, being a hard ass, but also kind of reasonable because the entire situation is just ridiculous. As like, Ueno just stands there drinking water while Oka just keeps giving him, refilling his glass, and she's like, well, I thought you were on patrol. He's like, well, I was thirsty. He's like, you came back from patrol because you were thirsty. And also Oka's just like giving him water. What is going on here?
Kishida just like walking in on the strangest scene in the world and going, what the fuck are you doing?
It's just like, why? I do feel weird about the show's treatment of Oka.
Yes, Oka. It is increasingly apparent that Oka is just girl. She's just the woman at home. She's just support. So I'm not going to expect anything. And if it disappoints me anymore, it will be impressive.
Yeah. I mean, we get stuff. She gets to do stuff next episode, but let's.
Yeah, she has to do a brief thing next episode, and then gets told that she's done it worse than everyone else.
Yeah, I was also like, oh yeah, she's flying the plane and stuff.
Oh yeah, that too. This is true.
And she gets paired up with the captain at times, but she does operations at least. But also, she's mostly the person at base, and like getting coffee for people, which is like, I say coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I just like the screenshot from that scene where she's just like, drink your damn water.
Drink your damn water. He's the best. I love him. He's my guy. He's terrible.
I liked this episode as a little insight into why he's like that. It was nice.
Yeah. It was just again just like fundamentally, it's like fundamentals, just well executed, and yeah, good episode. The kaiju itself, again, This
Kind
is
of
not
forgettable.
This is not one I'm going to remember. But the gas breath is pretty good. Just the attack on the. So I brushed over this. The film crew thing is fantastic. They rock up at this site with all these bodies gathered around. They develop the film, and then they screen it, and it's like filming this historical drama, like samurai movie. And it's pretty fantastic.
It reminded me of the Alien Wild episode a little bit. Like, remember when they're kind of in that investigation type like mode for like a little bit there, and then the episode just kind of completely diverges off of that. But
when there are cowboys.
Yeah.
No, was that the Wild episode? It might.
That was the Alien Wild episode.
That was the Wild episode.
Yeah. Oh, that
because it was the camera that was like taking photos of people and killing them, right, or whatever.
Yeah, it would steal. You would steal their soul into the camera, and you could watch their soul if you developed the film, which was the actual cool bit. Yeah. That was a cool episode.
I don't like the Alien Wild suit, but the episode was good.
You are an Alien Wild hater. Yeah.
I don't like that you can see his face.
it's very silly.
I love that he rocks up and he's like, "We're just misunderstood. We simply want to steal the life force of youths." It's like, you're not misunderstood. You have to go.
I do like that we do get casualties where it's just like, oh, like it killed these things. It killed this crew.
Along that lines, I was also seeing a trend where people just do not respect the mat at all.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, guys, there's a kaiju coming. Can you leave? And they're like, no, are you stupid? And then the kaiju comes up, and it's like, oh no, I should have left.
I should have done what the monster attack team thought I would do before they attacked the monsters.
Yeah. Also, I also want to highlight the scene like right before the transformation, where like.
Mm-hmm.
Increasingly ludicrous ways for Go to die to transform, as like he puts on a thing, he shoots a missile which seals the kaiju's mouth, and then goes to go blast it, and like Kato and Oka are there on the field with gas masks, and Go does not have a gas mask, and he gets hit by the gas and dies, and then comes Ultraman. Between this and him falling down a hill, they're just like trying to find ways.
One of these days, he's gonna die in a scenario where Ultraman does not deem him worthy, and he's just gonna fucking die. He's just gonna be done. It's just gonna be like, nah, I'm not very impressed this time.
What if the show is called Return of Ultraman, not because he's returned to Earth, but because he will one day return to his the Land of Light, leaving everyone abandoned?
Well, I mean, I'm going to guess that will actually happen at the end of the show.
Oh, of course. I mean, third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else about this episode? We do have production notes?
Yeah, I have an actual thing that I'm going to do after production notes.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
This was directed by Noboru Kaji, who I didn't find too much on, but I did learn he did do some, like, historical period, like, drama pieces, so that kind of explains the film crew doing that. But then also, too, what I found is that he did a variety of shows and made-for-TV movies throughout his career. Many of them, starting out, were adaptations of dramatic novels. His work, I noticed just looking through his filmography, seemed to go for more relationship and drama-centric stuff. Like, I think he adapted a novel about, like, a dressmaker, like, going through high school, and kind of dealing with, like, like, entering, like, a career and stuff like that, and trying to, like, find a balance between, like, your work and, like, your passion for your work and, like, finding, finding a family and that sort of thing or whatever. And also just like some like relationship oriented stuff. But that seemed to give way to more action packed and escapist type stuff as he got older. Including, Return of Ultraman. But then also too, he worked on a show called Code Number 1087 Ribs, which starred a team of 7 beautiful women who worked as international spies. The 7 ribs in the title refer to each of them having,
Okay, go ahead. Wait.
the 7 ribs are them.
Oh, okay. I thought this was an Adam and Eve reference.
Yeah.
The thing I saw was that it was that would also probably make more sense than what I read, which is that it's commenting on their bodies.
It's a reference to the fact that they have boobs.
Yeah. He also made a few TV shows and movies that were based on the works of Edogawa Rampo, who we've discussed before, famous, writer of detective fiction. Including a movie about his most notable villain, the Fiend with 20 Faces, also known as the Monster with 20 Faces and the Phantom with 20 Faces. And then after he was done working in the industry, he spent a few times working as a lecturer, talking about, how to direct and stuff for students from 1988 to 1994. Seemed to kind of retire and go off the grid after that, and then died in 2021. So,
damn.
Okay.
All right.
And then it was written by Tetsuo Kinjo.
Hell yeah. Thank you. That makes sense. Tetsuo, our man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now this part where I give the trivia, because I found some trivia on the Kaiju Kompendium.
Go for it.
About the fact that it is written by Tetsuo Kinjo. There was apparently this draws from an incident early in 1971, so fresh off the presses.
Okay.
It's called Operation Red Hat. There was a planned disposal of chemical weaponry by the U.S. military from Okinawa to the Johnston Islands, but
it went bad.
There was there was leaks going on.
Oh no!
And there was a major outcry from Americans and Okinawans because a bunch of American soldiers got poisoned by the weapons leak. I'm stumbling on the words today.
Mm-hmm. And presumably Tetsuo Kinjo invested in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sadly, this is also the very last Tetsuo Kinjo episode he ever wrote for Ultraman.
What?
No.
Oh.
Well,
bummer.
You know what? You did some fucking bangers, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. All-time writer.
I don't know if we want to at some point look at what he did after, but you can do that later.
He's one of the we talk about a lot of names, and so some of them I have to be reminded of. He is one of the ones I need no reminders ever. He's cool. Damn. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, we can loop back around to his where are they
where
now
he went
thing.
Yeah.
Where he went in future weeks.
All right.
Not that we'll fill in. But yeah, that's the episode.
Cool. All right, well, if we have nothing else to say...
No, but I will say I do have a hard out in 30 minutes, if that's okay.
Okay, to be honest, we can get through episode 12 pretty quick, I think.
Okay.
Unfortunate that we actually have an email this week, but maybe that's... we'll see.
Okay.
Let me see how
Should
long
we save it?
Yeah. We can play it by ear.
You see how long that email is while I go through this episode.
It's on the shorter side.
Okay. Yeah, we can do it. I believe in us.
Okay, so episode 12, Revenge of the Monster Shugaron, I believe is the title.
Yes.
The high-intensity MAT training, where they jump through flaming hoops and jump from jeeps while shooting at original Ultraman Kaiju, which is the best thing in this episode, is
what
interrupted...
are the flaming hoops training them for?
Don't worry about it. It's dude rock.
It's interrupted by uncouth bikers. These rapscallions bother the team a bunch and then ride away to bother someone else. This time
the UN military can do nothing about this.
They can do nothing about these bikers. They just have to stand there and go, "Wait,
they wag their fingers and they're like, oh, that's not okay. We're gonna take those bikes away from you if you keep acting like this." And they just drive off. They don't give a shit.
Also, the bikers don't do anything. They drive around and go, "Yeah."
Yeah, we're monsters. And they find out, yes, they are monsters because they harass
yes,
women.
they are. But this time they harass a mysterious young woman. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm no longer
This felt
team
a little
bikers.
skeevy in a way I was not expecting.
Yeah.
this series up to this point. Like it wasn't over, like it wasn't like over the top necessarily, but like it felt a little more like dudes harassing woman who's just, you know, minding her own business in a way that was just like, oh, like this feels kind of like rough in a way that we haven't really seen up to this point in the series.
It was also just like, you're not going to talk about this, so I don't know why you've done it, because like you can't say out loud what this is. It's like, because this is a show for small children. Like, what are you doing? There's no point to this at all.
I mean, to be fair, this is the part of the show where like the adult audience is the one they're like really like thinking is the main audience.
Okay.
The thing that like got me is like they just need to make it like a few less like, hey beautiful Zero, you have a cute face, and more just like make them like annoying pricks. Like, you know, like you don't even need to like make them make the harassing statements. They can just be like jerk off asshole nerd guys on bikes.
Like with distance, this can seem like we're talking about nothing, but to some extent, it's like there was like there's a certain degree of like veiledness to this, like veiledness to the how you can depict this. Like this just doesn't. It's just weird. It's just weird. Yeah. Anyway, we're spending too much time on this. They harass this young woman, and then they are attacked and killed by a kaiju almost immediately. The MAT finds the bodies, and one of the bikers' last words is "woman" and kaiju. Could the woman he referred to be Shizuka, the mysterious woman who lives alone on this mountain? Most of the team runs off to hunt for the kaiju, which over the course of the episode destroys a bypass and generally causes problems, but does not disturb the peace of the mountain itself. Meanwhile, Go is searching for Shizuka. He finds her, loses her, finds her again. She refuses to flee the mountain, assuring Go the kaiju doesn't disturb her home. Go discovers she's the daughter of a famous painter who retreated from society when she was in an accident that left her unable to walk. He brought her to this mountain and trained her to walk again, which we have once again entered the territory of Return of Ultraman thinks you can Goku yourself out of medical problems. Which I get. Which now that I think about it, I guess is extra funny because Dragon Ball does not believe you can Goku yourself out of medical problems. That man has a heart attack.
I should have just gone back in time to my younger self and told him he didn't need to spend all, you know.
He just trained.
You know. You should have just fucking trained, dumbass.
Hey Ken, why didn't you train? That feels mean. But I'll give it a shot.
Anyway, Go thinks it must be the volcanic sulfur that's keeping the kaiju away. But when the MAT injure the kaiju, it loses its vision and rampages in the direction of the house. Go and Shizuka watch as it breathes fire, and the house that contains her father's paintings erupts in flame. She rushes in to save the paintings, but Go stops her and takes her outside. A painting of her burns away and she faints, which is why I'm like, well, this is a ghost story. This is he turns into Ultraman and destroys the kaiju, and then for plot reasons Shizuka dies in his arms as he takes her to the rest of the team. The team buries her alongside her father, and Go speculates the kaiju could have been her father's spirit, who was destructive only towards cars and roads, as they were the cause of his daughter's accident. Even Kishida finds this a little persuasive. So this ghost story that is not a ghost story comes to a close. The end.
Ueno, notably the most strongly opposed to this.
He's like, are you fucking stupid? It's like, no, it's not a ghost. It's a giant kaiju. We fight kaiju all the time.
Guy who is into horoscopes, but ghosts are not real.
Yeah, that's a step too far. So yes, there's like we're doing woo again for some
off-brand woo.
Off-brand once again. This is a weird week because this is a week where 2 episodes have done Ultraman episodes, but like slightly different variants, and they're not as good.
Yeah.
Also, I'd say the woo thing comes down to including the fact that she has a white bunny.
Yes, she does. I had forgotten that from the Woo episode.
I do just want to highlight that the intro part is really funny, how like all the training scenes are just going hard with the MAT theme in the background. And then it cuts to the girl with the bunny and the music stops, and then it cuts back to the MAT theme.
Yes. it's really stupid. Yeah, the highlight of this episode is absolutely the what I thought this episode was going to be about the training. It was not about the training. I thought it was going to be about Oka learning something because she's like not doing as great in the training as everyone else. But no, it's not about that. It's about Woo Girl, but now it's different.
And just worse, I think I'm not gonna lie, I did not like this episode. I thought it was pretty bad.
It's not very good because it's like what happens is like the house burns down and like the paintings burn away, and so like it's like it's like she's not real. The memory of her has burned away, and so she's died. She's been sustained because like he's like training her to walk, and they never talk about the fact that it worked, and so it's almost like, well, obviously it didn't work. She's just a weird spirit of this mountain.
But then also too, we get the thing that I fucking hate when these shows do, where we spend the last minute and a half of the episode just being like, well, it must have hated the noise from that bypass, so it broke it down. And yeah, I think it was like,
I think his reasoning is that like she got paralyzed because of a hit. She got in a car accident, and therefore he has intense hatred of the concept of cars. which also reminds me of that really ridiculous one of the actual memorable episodes of Bubblegum Crisis, where the one guy is like creates a supercar to get like revenge on like the people who drive on the road. I
mean,
or just people who bike. Yeah, I know.
I'm with this guy. Cars have claimed the roads, and we should take them back. But I do think
guy
this
who
is
summons
mad.
a kaiju because he's really into the idea of walkable cities.
Yes, I do think this episode is mad stupid. I think this is this is like real like D tier level of setup, and then just like the limpest ending in the world, where it's just like he's just like walking her back. You stay with me, Shizuka, as she just flops dead, and it's like Shizuka, and it's like why has she died? It's like she's just it's like if she has anyway. Yes, she's a ghost. There's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't understand every time that they do this where, like, all of the motivation feels, like, super backloaded to, like, the final few minutes. It's like, you could not have found any way to work this into the rest of the episode? Like, I still don't think the episode would have been very good even with all of that stuff more distributed, but it's just, like, it just feels so fucking lazy.
Also, this is, like, our 6th, at this point, Godzilla variant. Of Kaiju.
This guy looks like a bunch of rocks glued onto a lame dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I watched the next time.
Yes.
And I think I've been spoiled on what the big special effects episode is going to be.
Yeah.
Because the narrator's like,
I can see the name of it.
Have you seen?
That's good.
Have you seen Did you see the next episode of preview, Resin?
No.
Okay. I need you to look at this screenshot I took of like the literal first thing they say for the next episode of preview, because it's the most insane things. I said, this is not how you say what the next time on is.
Okay.
Next week is a huge tsunami. The special effects team put everything into making. Thank you, narrator.
That's how you know they were fucking proud.
They were like, we went all in.
This is the episode I alluded to in the making of, so I'm going to go dip back into some production notes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
When we watch it.
Nice.
Yeah, all I can see in the booklet is the name of the next episode. I'm like, oh, this sounds like a wild time. I'm excited to get to it.
Spoil me on the title. Tell me.
Terror of the Tsunami Monster, Tokyo in Peril.
Excellent. Good shit.
Yeah.
That's what we
production. This was once again directed by Noboru Kaji, same as last episode, but then written by Shozo Uehara.
All right.
Okay. Also, another note from the Kaiju Kompendium. Apparently, this is the last episode for a while where Akea is the main designer. He's not gone like Naruto is, but they're just like putting in like a more rotating cast of Kaiju designers.
Fucking better.
And you know what? After the last stretch, I can't blame them, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not been the best outing for the Ultra Series so far, but looking forward to next week. All right, do we have anything more to say about episode 12 of Return of Ultraman: Revenge of the Monster Shugaron?
This is the one episode I'm a hater for so far.
Damn.
I think.
Damn.
I was kind of whatever on it.
It's
Oka
like
does something and it's in the one bad episode.
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. At least Fuji got a good episode.
True.
Yeah, even if it's a lie.
It's a lie. It's a lie, and you shouldn't watch it.
Listen, I think that was the smartest thing I've said all year.
Yeah. All right.
Just like when we put the Geronimon on the list instead of that one.
We put Geronimon on instead of Monster Anarchy Zone, the one with Red King and the little guy that gets squished one time.
Pigmon.
Yeah, Pigmon.
He's been squished so thoroughly you forgot his name.
He's been squished.
This episode's right. When you die, people's memories of you do fade
Yes.
away.
Exactly. All right. Well, if that's the episode, do we still have time for an email?
Yeah.
I'm
Let
good
me
to
do
go.
color timers first.
Oh yeah, color timers. Hit me.
Episode 10. 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
Okay.
Episode 11. 4 minutes, 2 seconds.
Fail.
Fail. Episode 12. 12 minutes, 13 seconds.
Okay.
12 minutes?
2 minutes. Fuck, I'm stupid.
Oh, 2 minutes. Okay.
I was like, I was going to continue as though I hadn't heard 12 minutes because I was like, that can't have been right. I assume she said something else, and I've just massively misheard her. All right.
Can you imagine 12 minutes of...
God. All right.
The fucking Zelda when you have the low life. Worst sound in the world.
Okay, so
Email.
email by our usual guest.
I had
Suzuki-san.
guessed. Thank you for your
they're
email.
They're saying right at the top, it's shorter just because because of the whole backlog situation we have for this month. They're just like, not sure what the timeline is going to be, so they're going to maybe save some stuff so we don't repeat it. But also, I assume in the future we'll have like a regular schedule again. If you have any reservations about Eiji Soraya passing potentially lessening the whole Catholic influence thing, the first lyric of Return's OP's second verse, once again written by Hajime Tsuburaya, is literally, the enemies are aiming for the crosses, so make of that what you will.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Also, the song used in the show was not meant to be a theme song. This is a backup track made up after the higher staff found the intended track too serious and wanted a more whimsical piece as the OP. The original song was called Tatakai Ultraman, or Fight Ultraman, and a lot of people think it's a superior track.
Ooh.
So I'll link that to you.
Oh, fantastic.
later.
I need that.
Yeah. He also says, I don't think this, but other people do.
Okay.
and he did attach it, so we could be the judge.
I will be the judge when I edit this episode. You will be able you will know whether I consider it a superior track based on whether it replaces the Matt theme at the end of this episode in like 5 minutes time.
And he says how he hopes that the show's still been to our liking so far. He's unsure of things because of the time displacement with the episode releases. But hopefully things will be smooth out next year. We should probably transition into like the schedule stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yes, so the schedule coming up is so we have a 1 week buffer, which means that next week we're not recording, which is good because it's Christmas Eve. But there will be an episode next week,
and then we won't be recording, I guess, on New Year's Eve.
Yes, so there will be a 1 week break for New Year's.
But then after that, things will be back to normal.
Yes, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, so it'll be like the first week of January.
Unless we call it a Christmas break, and that's stupid. Ignore me. I'm cutting that out.
Yeah.
So yes, there will be that 1 week break, the week that we would have been recording on New Year's Eve. and then it will be just straight. It'll just be episode a week, back to normal.
Yeah, the normal stuff.
Yeah.
Parody.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be rapidly approaching our 1 year anniversary.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Our 1 year anniversary will air. Our 1 year anniversary will be the day we record the finale of Blazer, assuming things line up
That's
correctly,
cool.
which is fun.
That's cool.
I'm really glad we planned it exactly like that on purpose.
Yeah, it was
So
all
true.
it was all intended. That was why. Yeah, absolutely.
Was Blazer even announced prior? Like, when we started this podcast, was Blazer announced?
No,
That's so fucking funny.
All right. Well,
actually, I think there were like teases of like what was coming next, but like, there's usually not a formal announcement until like the spring.
Yeah.
cool. I think that is an episode. We are at an hour and a half. That's pretty good.
I do too. I need to call my sister because it's her birthday.
I
yes.
call my uncle because it's her birthday.
So I need to call. It was my sister's birthday yesterday, so I'm done.
Wow.
So, if you want to follow the show, you can do so at ultra_q. That is at ultra_QUEUE. I am also on Twitter at gender_redacted. Razen, you go ahead.
I am at Rasenbran everywhere. That's RASENBRAN. Look forward to more Elden Ring. Also, watch me and my friend Jake go through the Tekken story modes. I'm going to stream 3 and 4 in a little bit here. And it'll be a fun time for everyone involved, hopefully.
And Mel.
Hi, I got shafted. What the fuck?
Yeah. That's what we switched you at.
Yeah. If you want to follow me anywhere, I'm on Dear Crowns on the various sites that you know. Email, like Cedric Sir. You can altqpod@gmail.com. Altqfund is for the subtitle coffee pitch. I spent money on imports. Please help.
Please help, Mel. All right, well, that is an episode. Join us next time for 3 more episodes of Return of Ultraman. In particular,
good.
the huge tsunami the special effects team have been putting everything into making, which is coming next week.
Very cool. I have to wait 2 weeks to watch this, but yes.
The only waves are the audio forms that we're forming with our voices.
Hell yeah.
The only waves I'm doing are goodbye to this episode that we're recording.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Later.
壊すぞ地響き立てて吠える怪獣大怪獣ふわっと開いた口から炎辺り一面焼け野原間違ってない死が迫る帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞウルトラマンウルトラマンウルトラマン十字を組んで狙った敵は必殺技の贈り物大地を飛んでキック一発近くに寄ってウルトラチョップ凶悪怪獣倒すため帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞウルトラマンウルトラマンウルトラマン かい澄んで見上げる空に一つ輝く僕の星遠く離れて地球に一人あれがふるさとだ正義と平和を守るため帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞ帰ってきたぞウルトラマンウルトラマンウル